Today we will be doing a multiplication problem through the standard multiplication algorithm. Our problem will be 2,379 times 1,204. Now, what you essentially are doing when you are multiplying is you have so many sets of a certain number. In this case, we have 1,204 sets of 2,379. And what that means, we have a number system slightly like our old. We'll use the number system that we used in our older videos, where the 2000s place is represented by cubes, the hundreds place is represented by flats, the tens place is represented by rods, and the ones place is represented by single brick units. Now, since we have 2,379 as our place value, we have 2 cubes, 3 flats, 7 rods, and 9 singles. So it matches up. And since we have 1,204 sets, it means that we have this many, plus another of that many, plus another of that many, plus another and another, all the way until we have all 1,200 of that total number. So, how you actually solve for the multiplication is pretty simple. What you do is you start down, you focus yourself down here first on the singles place. Now, again, what this essentially means is that you have 1,204 sets of this total number here. So you're going to be counting, essentially, right away, the first 4 sets. And you start by looking here at the ones place up on top, i.e. the nines, the singles down here. And what you're going to do is you essentially have 4 sets of 9. So, when you have 4 sets of 9, what is that? Well, it adds up to 36. Now, since we have 36, we have an extra 30 that can't stay in the ones place because you can't draw 2 digits in the ones place. So, what we do when we have something like that is we do what's called carrying. We essentially take those 30 singles and turn them into rods. And then we move those rods into the rods column right here. So they are put in place right here. And we'll write 3 small, very small, above the 7 to indicate that there are 3 rods that will be added to the total number of rods when we're done with the multiplying of the rods. And since we had 36, there's still that 6 left over, so it stays here in the singles place. Now we move on to the tens. You have the 4 times 7, which is equal to excuse me. You have 4 times 7, which is equal to 28. Once again, we have more than 10, so we're going to take those extra 20 singles, those extra 20 rods, and compress them into flats. And so we have 28 rods. Well, that means we're going to have 20 extra that will turn into 2 flats. So we'll write 2 very small above the 3 to indicate that we carried those 20 rods over. And then since we had those 8 left over, we're going to write it down here. But we also need to add that 3 to the total. And so 3 plus 8, whoops, that's going to leave us with 1 extra set of 10. So we'll want to actually change that 2 to a 3. And that leaves us with 1 left over. So we will write a 1 right there in the rods place, in the tens place. Next we'll multiply the 3 times 4. And 3 times 4, we get 12. So, since we have the 1 set of 10 flats left over, we're going to write the 1 over here with the 2 in the thousands place, because we have 1 whole extra set of 10 flats, which creates a cube, which is 1,000. So we'll write the 1 over there in the thousands place. Now, we have 2 left over when we get 12, but we also need to add this 3 here. So we're going to add this 3 to the 2, and now that makes our total 5. Finally, we're going to multiply, we're going to count the number of cubes that we get when we have 4 sets of 2. Well, that's not too hard. 2 times 4. When we count 2 4 times, that is 8. And we have that extra 1 up there, so we're going to bring that down and add it, and that leaves us with 9. There's the first digit counted. Alrighty, now we're going to move on and start multiplying from the tens place. Now here comes the pretty interesting bit. Since we are multiplying from the tens place, we are also, whatever number we have there, in this case it's 0, but if we had 1, we would technically be multiplying by 10. Since when we have 1 there, or a 0 in this case, it means we have 0 groups of 10. That extends to all numbers. And we're going to look over at this other sheet here to kind of think about that for a minute. See, when we have, let's say, a number that is 2,379. Oh, hey, funny, same number. It means when we look at our place values here, what it means is that we have the 9 singles, 9 individual numbers. Now what this means here is that not that we have 7 individual numbers, but we actually have 70 because it's 7 groups of 10. And when we look over here, we have 3 groups of 100, and over here we have 2 groups of 1,000. So what that really means is when we multiply 10, when we multiply by a 1 here, we're actually multiplying by 10. And if you look up here, we can see that when you multiply by 10 to a power, whatever that power is the number of zeros you're going to have after your 1. So when we multiply 10 to the 0, it's just 1. It means that we are multiplying 10 by 1 zeroth of itself. That means, we're multiplying 10 by 1 0 power of itself, which means that it's just 1. When we multiply 10 to the 1, it's like multiplying by 1, so it becomes 10. When you multiply 10 to the second, you're multiplying 10 by itself, which means you have 10 sets of 10. That means you have 100. When you multiply 10 to the third, it means you have 10 sets of 10 sets of 10, which means that you have 1,000, because that's like having 10 groups of 10, 10 groups of 10 groups of 10, and you go all the way up to 10,000, 100,000, million, and so on. And that is why you get that many zeros. You get as many zeros after the 1 as you have in the power when you multiply 10 by that power. So coming back over here, what we can essentially do, since we have 10, it's the tens place, we can assume there will be an extra 0 here, because everything will move over 1 place, essentially. It'll essentially add, as we are essentially multiplying this number up here by 10 to the first power when we multiply from this point. And then when we multiply from this point, we're multiplying it by 2, but we're also multiplying it by 10 to the second power. When we're here, we're multiplying it by 1, and we're also multiplying it by 10 to the third power. So we multiplied it by 10 to the first power right here because it's the tens place. Now we're going to multiply it by 0. Well, when we multiply something by 0, we get 0. Because we have 0 sets of 9, well, that's going to be 0. If we have 0 sets of 7, that's going to be 0. We have 0 sets of 3, that's going to be 0. And when we have 0 sets of 2, that will also be 0. Awesome, that one was pretty easy. So we'll move on to multiplying by 200. Again, we're also multiplying it by 10 to the second. So we're going to draw 2 zeros behind it here. and then we'll begin our multiplying. 2 to the 9th, or sorry, 2 sets of 9, excuse me, 2 sets of 9 is equal to what? Well, we add them together and we get 18. I'm going to cross out these extra numbers here up on top that we used earlier so we don't mix them up. 18. Well, 18 gives us one set of 10, and it leaves us with 8 left over. So we're going to carry that 1 over to there so we can remember to bring it over and add it up below when we're done. So we have 2 times 9, that's 18, leaves us with 8 left over. Well, there we go. Our answer down there will be 8. Now we're going to multiply 2 times 7. Well, we have 2 sets of 7, that's 14. And add them together. Leaves us with one extra set of 10, so we're going to move that 1 over here. And that leaves us with 4 plus 1. We have 5. Now we're going to have 2 times 3. So we have 2 sets of 3. That's 6. Plus the 1 is 7. Now 2 sets of 2, that's pretty easy. That's 4. Alrighty. Now we have one number left to multiply by, and that's going to be 1,000. So again, we're multiplying it as well as by 1. We're multiplying it by 10 to the 3rd. So we're going to have 3 zeros on the end here. So we multiply 1 by 9. We have one set of 9. Pretty easy. That's 9. And then we do the same with 7, 3, and 2, because we have one set of each of those. Alrighty. Now we have all our numbers here. We have our 4 sets of that, or sorry, we have our 4 sets, we have our 200 sets, and we have our 1,000 sets. So we have all these numbers here, and it's gonna be kind of small because we're running out of paper, but there's gonna be an addition sign right there, and we are going to add all these numbers up. So this is where it gets pretty easy, because we have 6 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 6. 1 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0, well, that's 1. 5 plus 0 plus 8 plus 0, think about that, that's actually 5 plus 8. Well, that's going to be 13. The value for that will be 13. So we're going to carry that extra set of 1,000 over there, and then we will add these 5 and 8. That leaves us with 13. Our answer down here will be 3. Now we have 9, 5, 9, and then that 1. 9 plus 1, that's going to automatically give us at least one set over here. And then 5 plus 9, that leaves us with another set. So we're going to move a 2 over here to the 10,000th place now. And 5 plus 9 is really what we need to focus on here. That's going to give us 14. So our answer will be 4 down here in the 1,000th place. Now over here in the 10,000th place, we have 2, 7, and 7 that we will add together. 7 plus 7 is 14, plus 2 is 16. So we have 16 sets of 10,000. Well, we can bring that 100,000 that we got from adding those together over here into this column, into the 100,000s column. And now we can just add up what's left. Well, that's going to be 6 sets of 10,000. Now over here, excuse me, over here in the 100,000s place, we have 4 plus 3 plus 1. Well, that's going to be equal to 800,000. Now finally, we have just the 2 in this column, so we can carry that down, and for our 2,864,316 that we get from multiplying 2,379 by 1,204. And that's the multiplication algorithm.